The Rory Union. It had been almost a decade since the last time they were all together. Life had taken them down different paths to different corners of the country. Yet here they were, back in the small town where it all began, about to meet for the first time in years. Each of them carried memories, and with those memories came a bundle of emotions: excitement, nostalgia, apprehension, and a tinge of sadness for what was lost along the way. Lily stood at the train station, her fingers gripping the strap of her bag a little too tightly. The platform was mostly empty, save for an elderly couple waiting on a bench nearby. The air was heavy with the scent of rain that had fallen earlier that afternoon. She hadn't been home in so long. The town felt the same, yet different. She checked the time on her phone again. "They'll be here soon," she muttered to herself, though doubt gnawed at her. What if everything had changed? What if they had changed? Just then, she saw a figure in the distance waving wildly, tall, lanky, and unmistakable. "Max," she called, waving back. Max jogged over, grinning. "Lily, wow, you haven't aged a day." She laughed, hugging him tightly. "Neither have you, just taller." Max pulled away, his face serious for a moment. "You think they'll show?" "Of course they will," she said, though her heart skipped a beat. What if they didn't? As if on cue, the unmistakable rumble of an old car pulled up beside them. A head of wild red curls popped out of the driver's seat. "I can't believe you two waited for me," said Sarah, her voice filled with warmth and humor. "Sarah." Lily ran to the car as Sarah got out, pulling her into a bear hug. Max joined in, creating an awkward but heartwarming group hug. All right, I'm not going to suffocate before we even get to the house," Sarah teased, but her voice cracked a little. They had all planned this reunion for months, a weekend away at the old lake house, where they had spent so many summers together as kids. There was only one person missing. "Where's Josh?" Max asked, glancing around. Lily bit her lip. "I texted him this morning. He said he was coming, but I don't know. Maybe he just needs time," Sarah said softly. Max, always the peacemaker, put a hand on Lily's shoulder. "He'll come. He has to." The drive to the lake house was quiet, the three of them occasionally glancing at the empty fourth seat. Memories flooded them as they passed familiar landmarks. The diner they used to sneak out to at midnight, the park where they would talk about their dreams for hours, the hill where they had all watched the stars on their last night together before life pulled them apart. When they arrived at the lake house, the air was filled with the scent of pine and wet earth. The water was calm, reflecting the soft hues of the setting sun. It was like stepping back in time, but everything felt heavier now. The house had aged just like them. They unpacked in silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Sarah broke the quiet, glancing at the door. "Maybe we should start dinner." Lily nodded, but her eyes kept flicking to her phone. She hadn't heard from Josh since the morning. The four of them had been inseparable once, but something had happened after their last summer together, something none of them had ever really talked about. As Sarah stirred a pot on the stove, Max sat on the porch, strumming the old guitar he'd found in the attic. The notes drifted softly into the evening air, blending with the sounds of nature. But there was an undercurrent of tension. The absence of Josh was palpable. Just as the sun dipped below the horizon, a car engine roared in the distance. Lily's heart jumped. Max and Sarah exchanged glances before they all ran to the porch. The headlights flickered through the trees before the car came into view. It was him. Josh stepped out of the car, looking unsure, his hands shoved deep into his pockets. He was different, older, more rugged around the edges. His eyes met theirs, and for a moment no one moved. Then Lily walked forward, slowly at first, before breaking into a run. She threw her arms around him, and he hesitated only for a second before hugging her back tightly. Max and Sarah joined them, the four of them standing together in the twilight, the weight of the years between them finally dissolving. Later that night, they sat around the fire, the tension that had lingered earlier now replaced with the warmth. They talked, laughed, shared stories of where life had taken them. But as the conversation slowed, an unspoken question hung in the air. Josh cleared his throat. "I'm sorry I stayed away for so long," he said quietly, his voice raw. "I wasn't sure if I was ready to face everything." Lily reached for his hand, squeezing it. "We missed you, Josh. We all did." He nodded, eyes glistening. "I missed you too. I just didn't know how much until I got here." The night stretched on, filled with laughter, tears, and confessions. And for the first time in years, the four friends felt whole again,